You are about to begin a journey beyond limitation, beyond fear, beyond the mental chains that hold you back. This is The Unchained Mind, a book for the thinkers, the dreamers, the doers, for those who know deep down that there's more to life than repeating old patterns. In these pages, you won't find fluff. You'll find clarity. You'll find challenge, and most importantly, you'll find yourself. Whether you're battling doubt, chasing purpose, or simply searching for peace, this book will walk with you as you learn to break free. So take a breath, get still, and open your mind to what's possible. Your unchaining begins now. Part 1. Understanding the Cage. Chapter 1. The Chatter Within. Recognizing the Overthinking Mind. Introduction. The Mental Cage. Have you ever found yourself lying awake at 3 a.m. replaying a conversation from yesterday, analyzing every word? Or perhaps you've been caught in a loop of what-if scenarios about a future event, each one more daunting than the last? If so, you're familiar with the chatter within. This internal monologue can feel like a relentless narrator, one who is particularly skilled at pointing out past mistakes and predicting future failures. This is the mental cage of overthinking. It's a prison we build for ourselves, bar by bar, with our own thoughts. The bars are not made of steel, but of circular reasoning and persistent worry. The lock is not physical, but a pattern of negative thinking that can feel impossible to break. But here's the crucial truth. You hold the key. This book is your guide to forging that key and unchaining your mind. The first step is not to fight the cage, but to recognize it for what it is, a product of your own thoughts. What is overthinking? Overthinking isn't the same as productive problem solving. Productive thought moves forward, it seeks solutions and creates plans. Overthinking, however, is like spinning your wheels in the mud. There's a lot of noise and effort, but you're not going anywhere. It's a cyclical, unproductive, and often negative thought process that increases distress instead of reducing it. When you're problem solving, you're actively looking for a solution. You're developing action steps, identifying strategies, and figuring out what you can do to address the situation. This kind of thinking is empowering and reduces stress. Overthinking, however, involves dwelling on the problem itself. It's characterized by rumination, worry, and overanalyzing, which keeps you stuck in a state of perpetual anxiety. It drains your energy, disrupts your sleep, and can make it difficult to think clearly and make sound decisions. The two faces of overthinking. Overthinking generally manifests in two primary ways: ruminating on the past and worrying about the future. This is the act of repeatedly chewing on past events, mistakes, or conversations. It's like replaying a scene from a movie over and over, hoping for a different outcome, but one never comes. Rumination is often associated with feelings of sadness, regret, and hopelessness, and it can be a significant factor in depression. It keeps you tethered to moments you cannot change, preventing you from engaging with the present. Worrying about the future involves fixating on what-if scenarios and anticipating negative outcomes. Worry is future-oriented and often revolves around the possibility of threats or things that could go wrong. It's a chain of negatively charged thoughts that can be difficult to control, leading to anxiety and a feeling of being constantly on edge. Excessive and uncontrollable worry is a key feature of generalized anxiety disorder. Self-assessment. Is overthinking affecting you? Take a moment to reflect on your own thought patterns. The following quiz can help you identify if you're prone to overthinking. Answer yes or no to the following questions. 1. Do you often find yourself replaying conversations in your head, thinking about what you should have said or done differently? 2. Do you have trouble sleeping because your mind is racing with thoughts? 3. Do you spend a lot of time thinking about the what-ifs of the future? 4. Do you often get stuck in a loop of negative thoughts that are hard to break out of? 5. Do you find it difficult to make decisions because you're worried about making the wrong choice? 6. Do you often feel mentally exhausted even when you haven't been physically active? 7. Do you ask others for reassurance but still feel unsettled? 8. Do you find yourself focusing on a single negative detail of a situation, even when many positive things also happened? 9. Do you find it hard to focus on the present moment because you're preoccupied with the past or future? 10. Do you believe that thinking about a problem for a long time is the best way to find a solution, even if it leaves you feeling more stressed? If you answered yes to several of these questions, you're likely caught in the grip of overthinking. Recognizing this is the first and most crucial step toward breaking free. In the next chapter, we'll explore where these negative patterns come from and how they become so deeply ingrained in our minds. Chapter 2. The Blueprint of Your Cage: Where Negative Patterns Come From. Introduction. The mental cage we described in the last chapter doesn't appear out of nowhere. It is carefully, if unconsciously, constructed over many years. It has a blueprint, and that blueprint is drawn from our life experiences, our core beliefs, and the very way our brain is wired to protect us. These patterns of overthinking are not a personal failing or a sign of weakness. They are learned responses. And the most empowering truth is this: what has been learned can be unlearned. To dismantle the cage, we must first understand how it was built. The role of past experiences. Our minds are shaped by our history. The events of our past, especially from childhood and adolescence, lay the foundation for our core beliefs, the deeply ingrained assumptions we hold about ourselves, other people, and the world. If you were consistently criticized, you may have developed a core belief that I am not good enough, which now fuels overthinking about your performance. If your environment felt unpredictable or unsafe, you may have learned that the world is a dangerous place, leading to constant worry about the future. These experiences shape the core beliefs that act as a filter for your reality. If you have a core belief that you are incompetent, you will interpret a simple request for a revision at work as not the normal part of the process, but as further proof of your inadequacy. This interpretation then triggers the overthinking cycle. Cognitive distortions, the warped bars of the cage. If core beliefs are the foundation of the cage, then cognitive distortions are the warped, twisted bars. Cognitive distortions are faulty or irrational ways of thinking that our minds adopt over time. They are mental shortcuts that feel true, but are actually skewed perceptions of reality. Recognizing them is like turning on the lights and seeing the bars of the cage for what they really are. Here are some of the most common ones. All or nothing thinking, or black and white thinking. You see things in absolute black and white categories. If your performance falls short of perfect, you see yourself as a total failure. There is no middle ground, no room for shades of gray. Example: if I don't get this job, my career is ruined. Overgeneralization. You see a single negative event as a never-ending pattern of defeat. You might use words like always or never when thinking about it. Example: after a date doesn't lead to a second one, you think this always happens to me. I'll never find a partner. Mental filter. You pick out a single negative detail and dwell on it exclusively, filtering out all the positive aspects of a situation. Example: you receive a performance review with pages of praise, but you fixate on one minor suggestion for improvement, ignoring all the positive feedback. Catastrophizing. You expect disaster to strike. You take a normal worry and magnify it into a worst-case scenario. This is the engine of what-if thinking. Example: a friend doesn't text back immediately, and your mind jumps to the conclusion that they are angry with you or that something terrible has happened to them. The vicious cycle. These components, past experiences, core beliefs, and cognitive distortions, don't exist in isolation. They work together in a powerful, self-reinforcing loop that keeps you trapped. It looks like this. 1. A trigger occurs. It can be anything: an ambiguous email from your boss, seeing a happy couple on social media, or making a small mistake. Example: your friend cancels plans at the last minute. 2. A negative thought is activated. Your core beliefs and cognitive distortions kick in to interpret the event. Example: the thought, "They always flake on me, they must not really value our friendship," appears. This is an example of overgeneralization and mind reading. 3. An emotional response follows. This negative thought immediately generates a painful emotion. Example: you feel a wave of rejection, sadness, and anger. 4. An unhelpful behavior is performed. You act in a way that is driven by the emotion and the thought. Example: you send a passive-aggressive text, or you spend the rest of the night ruminating on all the times you've been let down by others. 5. The cycle is reinforced. Your behavior and the lingering emotion strengthen the original negative thought. Spending the night ruminating reinforces the belief that your friendships are unstable, making you even more likely to have the same reaction next time. This cycle is the engine of the overthinking machine. It runs automatically and gains momentum each time it completes a loop. But now that you can see its blueprint, you are no longer a helpless passenger. In the next chapter, we will begin to forge the key, starting with the first and most powerful tool for breaking this cycle: awareness. Part 2. Forging the Key. Chapter 3. The First Glimmer of Light. The Power of Awareness. Introduction. Now that we have examined the blueprint of the mental cage, the natural impulse is to start rattling the bars, to fight back against the negative thoughts and attack the patterns. But this is a common mistake. Fighting with your own mind is like wrestling with a shadow. It's exhausting, and you can never win. The first, most crucial step to unlocking the cage is not to fight it, but simply to see it clearly. This chapter is about turning on the light. It's about forging the first part of your key: pure, non-judgmental awareness. Freedom begins the moment you realize you are not the voice in your head. You are the one who hears it. Mindfulness as the watchtower. When people hear the word mindfulness, they often picture someone sitting perfectly still, legs crossed, with a completely empty mind. This is a myth. The goal of mindfulness is not to stop your thoughts or to empty your mind. That's impossible. The goal is to change your relationship with your thoughts. Think of your mind as a busy street and your thoughts as the cars driving by. When you're stuck in overthinking, you're standing in the middle of the street, getting hit by every car, chasing after some, and desperately trying to direct the traffic. It's chaotic and overwhelming. Mindfulness is the act of stepping out of the street and onto the sidewalk. Better yet, it's like becoming the guard in a watchtower overlooking the street. From this watchtower, you can see all the cars, the worry cars, the regret cars, the anger cars, but you are no longer in their path. You can observe them coming and going without being run over. You can notice their color, their speed, and the direction they are headed. You simply watch. This is the essence of mindfulness, paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations in the present moment, without judging them as good or bad. It is the simple yet profound act of observing your own mind at work. The art of naming. As you become better at noticing your thoughts from the watchtower, you can begin to use a simple technique to create even more distance: labeling. When you are caught in a thought, you are fused with it. You believe it completely. Labeling the thought helps you to defuse or separate from it. It's the difference between saying, "I'm a failure," a statement of fact that feels heavy and true, and saying, "I am having the thought that I am a failure," a statement of observation. The thought is an event, not you. You can make it even simpler. When the mental chatter starts, just silently say to yourself, "Ah, this is the 'I'm not good enough' story. There's that worry again." This is catastrophizing. Labeling this as rumination. By naming the process, you strip the thought of its power. You are no longer the main character in the dramatic story it's telling. You are the audience, watching the story unfold. You are recognizing the familiar patterns you mapped in your thought log. This practice of awareness, logging, and labeling does not eliminate the traffic in your mind. The cars will still drive by, but you are no longer standing in the middle of the road. You have created a small but crucial space between you and your thoughts. In that space lies your freedom and your power to choose. In the next chapter, we will learn how to use that space to actively question and dismantle the thoughts themselves. Chapter 4. Questioning the voice in your head. How to challenge your thoughts. Introduction. You've moved from the street to the watchtower. You can now observe the traffic of your thoughts without getting run over, and you've started to recognize the familiar cars of worry and rumination. This awareness is the foundation of your freedom. But what if you could do more than just watch? What if you could gently interrogate the drivers of these cars, questioning their authority and challenging their destination? This is the next step in forging your key. Once you have created space between yourself and your thoughts, you can begin to interact with them differently. You can stop accepting them as absolute truth and start treating them as what they are, hypotheses that need to be tested. You don't have to believe everything you think. This chapter will teach you how to become a gentle but firm detective of your own mind, examining the evidence and dismantling the negative stories that have held you captive. Becoming a thought detective. The principles we'll use are drawn from cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, one of the most effective and well-researched methods for changing negative thought patterns. You don't need to be a therapist to use these tools. You just need a willingness to be curious and to question the assumptions your mind makes automatically. A detective doesn't accept a story at face value. They look for evidence. They consider alternative explanations. They question witnesses. You are going to do the same thing with your automatic negative thoughts, ANTs. Your mind will present an open and shut case for why you should be worried or feel bad. Your job is to reopen the case and investigate it properly. The 4 key questions. When you catch a powerful negative thought, one you've identified in your thought log from the previous chapter, don't try to suppress it. Instead, put on your detective hat and ask it these 4 powerful questions. It's best to write down your answers to make the process more concrete. 1. Is this thought really 100% true? Your emotional mind will scream, "Yes!" But your rational detective mind must be more skeptical. Is it absolutely, unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt, 100% true? Are there any exceptions? Can you think of any time when this thought was not true? The answer is almost always no. This question cracks the foundation of the thought's authority. Thought: I always mess up important presentations. Question: is it 100% true that I always mess up? Can I think of a time I gave a presentation that went okay, or even well? Maybe that last quarter wasn't perfect, but it wasn't a total mess. 2. What is a more balanced or compassionate way of looking at this thought? This question prompts you to move away from the black and white thinking we discussed in Chapter 2. Life is rarely all or nothing. Look for the shades of gray. How could you reframe this thought to be more realistic and less harsh? Thought: my boss thinks I'm incompetent because she pointed out a mistake. Balanced reframe: my boss pointed out a mistake, which is her job. It helps me learn and improve the final product. It doesn't define my overall competence. 3. What would I say to a friend who had this thought? We are often far harsher with ourselves than we would ever be with someone we care about. This question leverages your natural capacity for compassion and applies it to yourself. Imagine your best friend came to you with this exact thought and feeling. What advice would you give them? How would you comfort them? Thought: I'm so stupid for making that mistake. Advice to a friend: you're not stupid at all. Everyone makes mistakes. It's part of being human and part of learning. This one mistake doesn't cancel out all the smart things you do every day. 4. What is the actual evidence for and against this thought? This is where your detective work gets serious. You are now looking for cold, hard facts, not feelings. Feelings are not evidence. The fact that you feel like a failure doesn't mean you are a failure. Thought: I'll never find a partner. Evidence 4. I went on a date last week and it didn't go well. I've been single for a year. Evidence against: I've had successful relationships in the past. My friends and family love me, so I know I'm capable of being loved. There are millions of single people in the world. Being single for a year is not a life sentence. Exercise: the courtroom of the mind. To put this all together, use the following worksheet-style exercise. When you're stuck on a recurrent negative thought, put it on trial. The thought on trial: I am not good enough to succeed in my career. The prosecution's case: evidence that the thought is true. I was passed over for that promotion last year. I felt very anxious during my last project meeting. My colleague seems to be more confident than I am. The defense's case: evidence that the thought is false or exaggerated. I received a meets expectations or exceeds expectations on my last 3 performance reviews. I successfully completed the X and Y projects, which were very challenging. My boss trusts me with important responsibilities. Feeling anxious is not the same as being incompetent. The verdict: a new, more balanced and realistic thought. I sometimes struggle with confidence and have faced setbacks, which is normal. However, the evidence shows that I'm a capable and competent employee who has a track record of success. I am good enough, and I am still learning and growing. Challenging your thoughts is a skill. At first, it might feel mechanical or even silly. Your emotional mind will resist, but with practice, this process will become more natural. You are not trying to lie to yourself or engage in blind positive thinking. You are training your mind to be more accurate, more balanced, and much, much kinder. You are systematically dismantling the bars of your cage one thought at a time. Chapter 5. Breaking the Pattern. New Tools for a New Mind. Introduction. You now possess the two foundational parts of your key: the awareness to see your thoughts and the courage to question them. This is the deep, transformative work. But sometimes the storm of overthinking hits so fast and with such force that there's no time for calm reflection or a courtroom trial. The mental chatter becomes a deafening roar, and you feel yourself being swept away by the current. In these moments, you don't need analysis, you need an anchor. You need a circuit breaker that can stop the runaway train of thought in its tracks. This chapter is about building your practical, in-the-moment toolkit. These are the techniques you can use anytime, anywhere, to interrupt the habit of overthinking and redirect your precious mental energy. If questioning your thoughts is how you dismantle the cage, these tools are how you stop yourself from running back inside it. The power of the pause, creating a circuit breaker. The cycle of overthinking runs on autopilot. A trigger fires and the thought-emotion loop begins before you're even conscious of it. The most powerful thing you can do is to intentionally create a pause, a brief gap between the trigger and your usual reaction. This pause is your moment of power and choice. Here are 2 ways to create it. 1. The 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. This technique is a powerful antidote to overthinking because it yanks your attention out of the abstract world of past regrets and future worries and plants it firmly in the physical reality of the present moment. It does this by engaging all your senses. When you feel your mind starting to spin, stop and silently name 5 things you can see. Look around you and notice 5 objects. Don't just glance. Really see them. Notice the color of the pen on your desk, the texture of the wall, the way light reflects off your phone screen. 4 things you can feel. Bring your attention to the sensations of touch. Notice the feeling of your feet on the floor, the texture of your clothes against your skin, the cool surface of a table, the weight of your watch on your wrist. 3 things you can hear. Listen. What are the sounds in your environment that you are tuning out? The hum of a computer, distant traffic, the chirping of a bird, your own breathing. 2 things you can smell. Try to identify 2 scents in the air. It could be the faint smell of coffee, soap on your hands, or the scent of the room itself. 1 thing you can taste. Focus on 1 thing you can taste. This might be the lingering taste of your last drink, or you can simply notice the sensation of your tongue in your mouth. By the time you finish this exercise, you will have successfully interrupted the thought spiral. You have broken the trance by grounding yourself in the here and now. 2. Scheduled worry time. This may sound strange, but one of the best ways to control worry is to give it a specific, contained appointment. Overthinking operates like a weed, cropping up whenever it wants and taking over your mental garden. By scheduling worry time, you are telling the weed where it is allowed to grow. Here's how it works. Designate a specific, limited time each day, say 15 minutes at 5 p.m., as your official worry time. During the day, when a worry or a ruminating thought appears, don't fight it. Acknowledge it. Write it down on a worry list and tell yourself, "Thank you for the reminder, mind. I will give this my full attention at 5 p.m. Then return your focus to what you were doing. During your worry time, sit down and go through your list. Allow yourself to worry, ruminate, and overthink about each item as much as you want, but only for your allotted 15 minutes. You will discover 2 things. First, by the time your appointment arrives, many of the worries will have lost their emotional charge or seem insignificant. Second, you are training your brain that there is a time and a place for worry, and it is not 24/7. You are reclaiming control over your mental schedule. Shifting your focus, where to go after the pause. Interrupting the pattern is the first half of the battle. The second half is redirecting your attention to something more constructive. Here are 2 ways to do that. 1. Engage in a flow state activity. A flow state is a state of being completely immersed and energized by an activity. It's that feeling of being in the zone where time seems to disappear and the chattering voice in your head goes silent. It is neurologically impossible to overthink when you are in a flow state. Identify your personal flow activities. They are typically things that are challenging but not overwhelming. Examples include playing a musical instrument, gardening, cooking, or crafting, a sport like running, swimming, or dancing, losing yourself in a complex work project, or playing a challenging video game or puzzle. When you feel the urge to overthink, pivot to one of these activities for at least 15 to 20 minutes. It serves as a complete mental reset. 2. The productive action pivot. Overthinking often leaves us feeling paralyzed, stuck in analysis, and unable to act. This technique breaks that paralysis by focusing on small, manageable actions. When you are worrying about a problem, ask yourself this simple question: what is one small thing I can do about this right now? The key here is small. The goal is not to solve the entire problem in one go. The goal is to shift from the state of passive worry to the state of active agency. Worried about a massive project at work? The one small thing is to open a document and write a title, or to send a single email to a coworker. Anxious about your messy house? The one small thing is to put one dish in the dishwasher or clear one corner of a table. Ruminating about an argument with a friend? The one small thing is to write down what you want to say in a journal, not to rehash the argument in your head. Taking one small action breaks the spell of helplessness. It proves to your brain that you are not powerless and builds the momentum you need to move forward. These tools are your first aid kit for an overactive mind. Use them to break the cycle, ground yourself in the present, and reclaim your focus one moment at a time. Part 3. Living Unchained. Chapter 6. Designing Your Freedom. Building a Resilient Mindset. Introduction. So far, we have focused on deconstruction, on identifying, questioning, and interrupting the negative patterns that built your mental cage. It is the essential work of clearing the ground. But freedom is more than just the absence of chains. It is the presence of something better. Once the old toxic structures are gone, what will you build in their place? Leaving the ground barren makes it easy for the old weeds of worry and rumination to grow back. To live an unchained life, you must actively cultivate a new inner landscape. This chapter is about designing that landscape. It's about building a resilient mindset, a way of thinking and being that not only withstands life's storms, but allows you to grow stronger from them. It's time to stop just fighting the old patterns and start actively building new, stronger ones. Cultivating self-compassion, the antidote to self-criticism. The voice of overthinking is almost always a harsh critic. It judges your past, doubts your present, and fears your future. The most powerful antidote to this inner critic is the warm, gentle voice of self-compassion. Many people mistake self-compassion for self-pity or self-indulgence. It is neither. Self-compassion is not about making excuses. It's about offering yourself the same kindness, understanding, and support you would offer a good friend who was struggling. Dr. Kristen Neff, a leading researcher in this field, identifies 3 core components. 1. Mindfulness. The first step is to acknowledge your own suffering without over-identifying with it. It's noticing the pain, this is really hard right now, instead of ignoring it or being consumed by it. 2. Common humanity. This is the profound recognition that you are not alone.
to suffer, to fail, to feel inadequate, these are fundamental parts of the shared human experience. Overthinking isolates us, making us feel like we're the only ones struggling. Common humanity reminds us everyone feels this way sometimes. I am not alone. 3. Self-kindness. This is the active practice of being gentle and understanding with yourself, rather than punishing yourself with criticism. It's responding to your own mistakes with warmth and care. Practical exercise, the compassionate friend. The next time you catch yourself in a loop of harsh self-judgment, try this. 1. Pause and notice. Acknowledge the critical voice. 2. Reframe. Think, what would I say to my dearest friend if they were saying these things about themselves? 3. Write it down or say it out loud. Articulate that compassionate response and direct it towards yourself. Instead of, I can't believe I messed that up, I'm so useless, it might become, hey, that was a tough situation and you did the best you could. It's okay to make mistakes. That's how we learn. Be gentle with yourself. Practicing gratitude. Rewiring your brain for positivity. Overthinking trains your brain to be a detective for threats, problems, and deficits. It's constantly scanning for what's wrong. To build a resilient mindset, you must consciously retrain it to scan for what's right. Gratitude is not about ignoring life's difficulties. It's about ensuring they don't eclipse life's goodness. Neuroscience shows that a regular gratitude practice can strengthen neural pathways, making it easier and more automatic for your brain to notice positive experiences. Practical exercise, the 3 Good Things Journal. This is a simple but profoundly effective practice. Every evening before you go to sleep, take 5 minutes to write down 3 specific things that went well during the day and your role in making them happen. Be specific. Instead of, I had a nice day, write, I really enjoyed that warm cup of coffee this morning before anyone else was awake. Include your role. This is crucial. It connects the good thing to your own agency. My colleague thanked me for helping with her project. I made the choice to take a few minutes to help her. Savor the feeling. As you write, try to reconnect with the positive feeling associated with the event. This practice retrains your focus. It forces your mental filter, from Chapter 2, to start looking for positives, building a mental library of evidence that life, even on hard days, contains moments of grace and goodness. Embracing imperfection, letting go of perfect. Perfectionism is the fuel of overthinking. The desire to find the perfect solution, to make the perfect decision, or to avoid any possibility of failure is what keeps the mental wheels spinning endlessly. The resilient mind understands that perfect is an illusion and that good enough is a liberating and effective standard. Embracing imperfection involves a shift in values from flawlessness to growth. It's accepting that mistakes are not signs of failure, but essential data points for learning. It's choosing action over endless analysis. Practical exercise, the good enough challenge. Pick one small, low-stakes area of your life where you tend to get stuck seeking perfection. It could be writing the perfect email, which you redraft 10 times. It could be cleaning the kitchen until it's spotless. It could be planning the perfect weekend. For 1 week, consciously choose to do that task to a good enough standard. Write the email, check it once for major errors, and send it. Wipe down the counters and accept that it's clean enough for tonight. Make a loose plan for the weekend and allow for spontaneity. Pay attention to the feeling of liberation that comes from reclaiming that wasted time and mental energy. You'll prove to yourself that the catastrophic consequences you feared from imperfection never materialized. By cultivating self-compassion, practicing gratitude, and embracing imperfection, you are not just managing negative thoughts, you are actively designing a mind that is a kinder, stronger, and more peaceful place to live. Chapter 7. The Unchained Life. Maintaining Your Freedom for the Long Haul. Introduction. You have arrived at the final chapter, but you are at the beginning of a new way of living. You have explored the architecture of your mental cage. You have forged a key of awareness and inquiry, and you have laid the foundations for a new, more resilient mindset. You have done the hard work. The path to a free mind is now clear before you. But freedom is not a destination you arrive at once and for all. It is a path you choose to walk every day. There will be days when the old, overgrown trails of worry and rumination seem tempting, or when you stumble back into them by accident. This final chapter is not a goodbye. It's a map for the journey ahead. It's about how to maintain your freedom, navigate the inevitable challenges, and ensure that your new patterns of thought become your new default. This is how you live an unchained life for life. Recognizing triggers and preparing for setbacks. An unchained mind isn't a mind that never experiences a negative thought again. That's an unrealistic and unnecessary goal. An unchained mind is one that is no longer imprisoned by those thoughts. Part of this mastery involves knowing your unique landscape, including the areas where you are most likely to get stuck. Identify your personal triggers. Think back to your thought log from Chapter 3 and your work in the subsequent chapters. What are the specific situations, people, or states of being that tend to activate your overthinking? Common triggers include stress and pressure, deadlines at work, financial strain, conflict with a loved one, uncertainty, waiting for test results, ambiguity about the future of a relationship or job, fatigue or illness. When your physical resources are low, your mental defenses are weaker. Social comparison, spending time on social media, being around people you perceive as more successful. Rejection or criticism, both real and perceived. Knowing your triggers is like knowing there's a patch of uneven ground on a path. You don't have to avoid it entirely, but you can prepare to walk across it more carefully. Create a setback plan. A setback is not a failure. It is not proof that the real you is an overthinker and that all this work was for nothing. A setback is an event. It's a moment of forgetting. Your response to the setback is what matters most. Instead of letting it send you spiraling, treat it as a signal to deploy your tools. Create a simple, in case of overthinking, break glass plan for yourself. It could look something like this. 1. Notice and name without judgment. Okay, I'm caught in a worry spiral right now. That's all this is. 2. Apply first aid, Chapter 5. I will now do the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding exercise to interrupt this. 3. Offer self-compassion, Chapter 6. It's understandable that I'm feeling this way, given the trigger. It's okay. I'm not going to beat myself up for this. 4. Engage the detective, Chapter 4. When I'm a bit calmer, I will ask what evidence there is for this catastrophic thought. 5. Pivot to action, Chapter 5. What is one small, kind, or productive thing I can do for myself right now? Having a plan transforms a moment of panic into a moment of practice. The upward spiral. In Chapter 2, we discussed the vicious cycle where negative thoughts, feelings, and behaviors reinforce each other, pulling you down. The beautiful truth is that this cycle also works in reverse. By implementing the tools in this book, you create a virtuous cycle, an upward spiral that builds momentum toward well-being. It looks like this. 1. A conscious thought is chosen. Instead of an automatic negative thought, you use your tools to challenge it and arrive at a more balanced, compassionate thought. An example, this is a challenge, but I have the resources to handle it. 2. A positive emotion follows. This balanced thought generates feelings of capability, calm, or confidence. An example, you feel a sense of resolve instead of panic. 3. A constructive behavior is performed. Driven by this positive emotion, you take effective, forward-moving action. An example, you break the problem down into small steps and tackle the first one. 4. The cycle is reinforced. Your effective action provides new evidence that you are capable, which strengthens your new balanced core belief. This makes it even easier to choose a conscious thought the next time. Each time you complete this upward spiral, you deepen the groove of your new thought patterns. You are actively rewiring your brain for peace and resilience. Conclusion: the open sky of your mind. The goal of this book was never to give you a mind that is empty or silent. The mind is a thinking tool. It will always generate thoughts. The goal was to transform your relationship with your mind. You started this journey feeling trapped inside a cage, believing the voice of the guard was your own. Now you know the truth. You are not the cage, the bars, or the guard. You are the open sky, in which the storm clouds of thought may gather and pass. Sometimes the sky will be dark and turbulent, and sometimes it will be clear and bright. But the sky itself is never harmed by the weather. You hold the key. You have always held the key. It was forged in awareness, shaped by inquiry, and strengthened by compassion. It is not a key that opens a door to a final destination, but one that you carry with you always, a constant reminder of your power to choose. Live with your mind unchained. Walk your path in freedom. The sky is waiting.